The most fascinating thing about the United States Supreme Court moving now to say, well, no, there is no right to an abortion in the Constitution, is the insane reaction to this. Now, it seems to me that the West's cultural elites don't actually like democracy much. They don't seem to trust the people. And so there is a real insurrection happening right now, this week in the United States. This is not the so-called insurrection that the left has been screaming about since January last year, when a ragtag group of Donald Trump supporters broke into the US Congress claiming the election was rigged. That was just a beat-up. No, the real insurrection is happening right now against democracy and against the highest court in the United States. And it's by some of the very people who've been demonising the Trump supporters. You see, whatever you think of abortion, and despite whatever you've heard about this decision, what the Supreme Court seems to have decided, to go by a leaked draft of the decision, which is yet to be handed down formally, is actually not the end of legal abortion in America. Although someone seems not to have told that to Whoopi Goldberg, whose reaction on TV was frankly insane. Listen carefully to what she says.
Everybody wants to tell me what to do, but you won't let me make my decision about my body. You are not the person to make that decision. My doctor and myself and my child, that's who makes the decision.
That's bizarre. How many babies does Goldberg think helped mum and doctor make that decision to have themselves aborted? Forget the hysteria. What a majority of the Supreme Court seems to have decided is that abortion laws should, by law, be decided by a vote and not by judges just making up rights out of thin air. Every state in America should decide their abortion laws for themselves. This is draft decision. Judges shouldn't decide, voters should. So Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren can stop hyperventilating if she's right that the public is right behind legal abortion.
69% of people across this country, red states and blue states, old people and young people, want Roe versus Wade to maintain.
We don't want to dismember children in the womb, ma'am. We are not going to stand for dismembering 3,000 children in the womb every single day.
And this is the real insurrection, of course, because it's more dangerous than the Trump one. It's backed by many in the media and political class. Joining me is someone who tipped this decision last year, Kosha Gada, a media commentator and founder and CEO of Recastled LLC, a media and tech incubator and advisory firm. Kosha, thank you for your time. Why this hysteria, do you think? Why this fear of having elected politicians, people elected by voters, decide abortion laws rather than unelected judges?
Hi, Andrew. Good to be with you. This is a bombshell story that has been sending shockwaves across the U.S. today, and I think it's for two reasons, and that's where sort of the hysteria comes in. One is the leak itself. The act of the leak itself is actually a really, really big deal because it is a violation of the Supreme Court, and it really shows you what the political climate is right now in the U.S. in general, and particularly around this issue, that somebody would do that and violate sort of the sanctity and the code of conduct of the Supreme Court and leak a decision before it's actually been formalized. But the other reason, really what gets to the heart of this and what's behind the hysteria is Roe v. Wade was, of course, a landmark Supreme Court ruling that was passed in 1973, half a century ago, and it contended that in the federated system of the U.S., we have a federated system much like you do here, it contended that it is actually unconstitutional for states to regulate abortion in accordance with the preferences of their own individual electorates. And the legal theory on which this Roe v. Wade was ruled 50 years ago or so was always very dubious, and even some of the staunchest pro-choice people who may be personally pro-choice on the issue of abortion, but are legal scholars, they always said that the legal theory that the Supreme Court based their ruling on in 1973 was very shaky, and therefore this ruling was ripe for and very vulnerable for being challenged at the right point in time, and that point is here now. So I think, as this decision was leaked before it's been finalized, the reason why people are very hysterical is they often conflate the morality and the ethical aspect around the issue of abortion, which is very contentious all around the world, with the constitutionality of it. And what this is about, as you said, is the constitutionality. And does the United States Supreme Court have the authority to basically read into the law and stipulate that states don't have autonomy on this? Or should it be sent back to the political arena where it belongs and let individual states make these decisions, because the people of Mississippi, for instance, think differently than the people of Massachusetts, and let them decide what kinds of laws they want to regulate abortion?
But even in Mississippi, right? So here are the people, the judges saying, take it back to the states, have a vote, you decide amongst yourselves. We can't find an excuse for banning for allowing abortion in the Constitution. You just got to have a vote on it. Mississippi says they're not going to ban abortion. They're just going to say up to a number of weeks. That's fine. But beyond that, older babies, no, we don't want that. So it's really about where the term limits are. So I'm just wondering, when it's up for debate like that, what is the fear here of the pro-democracy lobby of letting people decide issues like that?
I think so. The issue is, if you look at a lot of the polls, about 15% of the country is completely against abortion at any point. They believe life begins at conception, and under no circumstances, no term limit should it be legal. About 15% of the country thinks, up until the last second before birth, this is about the woman and her doctor, and that is what should reign supreme, and the life in the womb doesn't matter, basically, in that context. But 70% of the country, the majority of the country, is somewhere in the middle, where they don't like abortion. We think it should be rare. It's a very sad and unfortunate thing, but there may be some practical measures in terms of the time and the pregnancy and the reason behind it that should be taken in, practical realities of life. And I think the issue is, given that 70% of the electorate sort of stands there, and there's nuance to that with how they fall, the 15% that really wants it to be completely legal on demand at any stage, they basically don't trust that if you vest that power back into the electorate to vote, then their view is not the majority view, because the majority of the Americans do not support abortion on demand up until the final minute. And I think that's sort of what this gets into, and where they worry that overturning this ruling by the Supreme Court will send it back, and their position, not being the majority position, will eventually not prevail.
Well, hello, that's democracy. It is democracy. Win your argument in the field. Don't try to get an unelected judge to make up law just to suit you. I just think that's just the rub of it. Kosha Gada, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really appreciate that.